The delay to the start of the Formula One season has huge repercussions, and one of the talking points is the Mercedes dual-axis steering. Have they lost an advantage, Mark Hughes, because there's a delay, others can catch up? What's the situation?
Yeah, the mechanical engineering of the system, as far as I understand, isn't that complex. How you actually get the movement in the steering column to translate to a change in the toe of the wheels. It's more a case of getting it to work exactly as you want it to. So there's a bit of development time built into it, but the actual building of the system, not that much. So yes, it's probably hurt Mercedes a little bit because other teams will be able to incorporate it and do it, but it's not every team.
Well, of course, the various teams have said the start of the European season is not an unrealistic target to have it, and that's probably the earliest realistic start of the season, as is. So we've got that element of them catching up. But there's one team in particular, a very significant one, that there is a big stumbling block for. Yeah,
so Red Bull repackaged the whole front end of their car to give them that lovely slim nose. And part of how they did that, to create the room to do that, was moving the steering gear behind the bulkhead together with the reservoirs and things like that, which has freed up the space to really give it that lovely narrow nose. But it means that the steering gear is no longer aligned directly over the toe adjust mechanism. So it would involve, by the look of it, a complete front end redesign if Red Bull wanted to incorporate it, and they would thereby lose whatever aerodynamic advantage they've gained from the slim nose. So I would imagine that is very much behind Red Bull being so adamant that the system isn't legal, because that's the position they will have to adopt.
Well, there's still a possibility that when we finally do get racing again, there could be a challenge, a protest from Red Bull on this. Could Red Bull just commit to redoing the whole thing? They might have some months to do it, or do you think with 2021 on the horizon and the uncertainty about this season, they'll be better off just saying, well, we're going to do without this, let's do what we can to get it banned now?
Yeah, I would imagine the latter, because when you're changing the whole nose of the car, you're changing the whole philosophy, the aero philosophy of everything. Everything after that is based upon that airflow regime. So no, I wouldn't imagine that's a decent option even for them even to think about. So their priority has to be question the legality of it, and then if it doesn't work for them, just ploughing on with what they've got.
And of course, this isn't unrelated to what we saw related to the brake ducts on the Mercedes with the technical directive. That this is part of the wider picture, isn't it? Red Bull started objecting to that as well.
Yeah, well, that could well be an anticipation of what they're expecting to come. So the feature that Red Bull queried to the FIA about the Mercedes rear suspension, or the rear brake ducts, was the same issue that Ferrari queried the FIA last year, and which the FIA then passed as perfectly okay. And the justification was that Mercedes was able to demonstrate that the extra area outside of the prescribed zone wasn't actually brake cooling. They were able to show that the shafts from that part led to different part of the wheel rim, and it was to cool the wheel rim and thereby the rear tyre temperatures. We don't know exactly how Red Bull worded this year's query about the same feature, but it led to the FIA issuing a technical directive that stated, you can no longer have any duct there, regardless of what it's for. So that required a quick redesign for Mercedes at Melbourne, although they didn't need it, obviously, in the end. But the way that it was worded by the FIA was that they would be happy with an interim solution whereby they just basically put a hole, an exit hole at the back of the duct, which meant the air could go straight through it rather being channeled to the shafts inside the wheel. But that wasn't going to be a permanent solution. That was going to be 3 races down.
And if you're Mercedes, this is kind of the worst case scenario for this, isn't it? They've been working on this system for a long time. It's brilliantly simple as well. But they might be thinking, well, we could have a couple of months of racing before others can adopt this. There's a lap time gain, there's a tyre management gain because you're not putting so much strain through the shoulder of the tyre on the straights. But basically, that's been eliminated, hasn't it? So you're probably
Absolutely.
thinking, I mean, it's low down the agenda, and I doubt if that's, they will accept that there's bigger things at play. But you're probably thinking, oh, we had this brilliant idea. And
Yeah.
it's potentially being nullified, certainly against everyone but Red Bull.
Yeah, that's true. If we're talking initially that maybe we might be able to get the season started at Baku, that would be a fantastic circuit for DAS, because you have that massively long straight followed by a slow corner. So that would be perfect. That would, but you've got a head start. They've got a head start there, in terms of they've already got a perfected system. I assume it's perfected, whereas the others would be making their debut with that system. So, yeah, but it's not as big a jump as they would otherwise have got.
And of course, if it starts in Monaco, which is also a possibility, that's not really a particularly DAS-sensitive circuit, is it? Well, we'd like to hear what you think about the Mercedes DAS. Is it legal? Do they lose an advantage? What do you think of the Red Bull situation? Please let us know in the comments below. Please do subscribe to our channel and like this video. And for more on this situation, do head to the race.com website. And don't forget the hyphen.